Hi. Welcome, class. This is Robyn. Robyn, this is class.
Hello.
Hey, Robyn.
Guys.
So, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Robyn Hrivnatz. I work at Microsoft in our U.S. Education Division. So I spent 16 years as a classroom teacher and a school leader in a school district in Texas before taking this role here at Microsoft. And now my primary role at Microsoft is to work on curriculum development for professional learning for teachers. And then I oversee our Microsoft Innovative Educator teacher program. So I specifically run our USMIE expert program as well as our Microsoft Innovative Educator trainer program in the US. So those are my main focuses and my role here at Microsoft today.
So can you talk about, so a core component of this class is social media. Can you talk about, how in your role you use social media and how maybe that's changed over the last few years?
Sure. I mean, I can even share experiences too from using it as an educator to my roles today. I would probably say that social media is crucial to my role every single day here at work, both from a personal learning perspective. It's where I go for my personal and professional learning community to connect with, to get advice from, to understand what current trends are in the education world. But also, even from a business aspect, we also look at social media as a instant need to know right now, kind of in the moment view into competition, as well as just understanding our audience, right? So in order to be relevant as a company, but in this role, I need to be deeply connected to teacher audience. So even though I may not be in the classroom any longer, I still need to know what's going on in the classroom space. So having access to social media, using tools like Twitter is essential. Facebook, those probably the main two from a communication standpoints, but obviously we look at other tools too. So everything from Snapchat to Pinterest, et cetera. And we have social media presences in these different tools. So number one, it's about understanding your audience in the professional environment, no matter if you're a doctor in medical field or in education, whatever it is that you pursue, understanding what your audience is. So I use it for learning, but also understanding my audience. And then also from a business perspective, you should be kind of using social media for understanding your competition. I mean, in the old days, you read a newspaper or watched the news maybe on TV to understand what your competitor launched or is releasing in their space or new products that they're coming out with. And, it doesn't have to be in a technology world. It could be across any industry. And so understanding what your competition is doing as well gives you clear insight into making sure that you're making the right business decisions to drive your business forward. And it is also a place to connect to the customer, whatever that customer is. So obviously I work in U.S. education. We consider our customers our teachers and our students. So listening to teachers and students in the space, what is it they care about? What are things that they're asking for to make teaching or learning better? So listening to the customers is super important, and all of that is very important to connect with social media, and it's because of the live, responsive nature of social media and how that works. And obviously, I would say that this has changed dramatically just in the last couple of years, being able to have this instant communication and feedback and responsiveness. While it can be tiresome to some people, or people may think like, well, just
Hey, you okay?
Hey, sorry about that. Gotta love when your computer decides to do a quick reboot in the middle of a call.
Well, that's Microsoft, right? Just does updates.
Yeah, that's definitely a downside of working in a technology company is we're always running on the latest version or the newest dog fooded version of any technology. So it's full, it just kind of updates and does its thing when it wants to. We get to be the bug testers, if you would, for every single thing. So sorry about that.
Actually, while you were away, I was kind of talking to them about the building that you're in, because I believe that's one of the ones that I was either in or close to. Can you, Microsoft, so there's the education division, but there's so many other different divisions. How, for working like with such a big company, how is that on social media? I mean, does anybody like kind of proofread stuff? What kind of things do you have to be aware of when you're posting? Because you're not just representing the education department, you're Microsoft as a whole.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Obviously, Microsoft is being a huge company. We have literally over 125,000 employees all over the globe. We look at social a couple different ways. So number one, as a company, being an employee at the company, it's actually part of our training as an employee that if we are to use social media, that we must disclose that we work at Microsoft. So somewhere like on my Twitter handle, it says Microsoft in Education there. And it's not to say that everything I use on social media is directly associated to Microsoft's views, but we must also do diligence to say we are with Microsoft. So if someone is following us and they see our views, that they do understand that we are with that company or not like posing as someone else. So I am able to post freely personally, however I'd like on Twitter, as long as I do disclose that I am at Microsoft. And there's no strict rule about what I can post per se, but I mean, there's other than things that I can't share that are on non-disclosure. So anything that the company has that they're working on that's not able to be publicly shared, obviously I can't share that on social media or any other place for that matter. But outside of that, I mean, that's just kind of how it works. But internally, inside the company, our official handles that we have in social media. So for example, we run a Microsoft in Education handle that post in Twitter and Pinterest and Snapchat and Facebook, etc. These are all run on what we have at Microsoft. It's called our Social Command Center. And literally, these are jobs that did not exist 5 years ago. I don't even think they existed like 4 years ago. But we have an entire area of one of our buildings that we call our Social Command Center. And these are folks mostly in their, when I go there, I definitely feel like the old person in the room, let's just say that. But these guys work full time representing different handles. So whenever, they do a lot of responsive social media. So if any of you are Xbox players, for instance, you'll see that Xbox was essentially one of the first brands, if you would, out there in social media that began doing lots of consumer responsiveness. So like when someone who's big into the gaming world, if they tweet at Xbox something and something's happened into the game or whatever, Xbox does lots of personal reactions to those types of things. That they will actually use a lot of the design team and creative artists that work on the Social Command Center to create custom responses back to people in social. And obviously that's to, gain respect inside the gamer community. It's to kind of increase your fans, if you would. So Xbox is one of the largest fan brands out there in this consumer space. And so we have this entire team of folks who, everything from someone who sits there and moderates sprinkler channels and is looking at what's trending, can we see and respond in live time to things that are trending across the globe. Or, I don't know if you guys a couple of weeks ago saw the whole man in tree trending hashtag on Twitter. There was some crazy guy in Seattle who decided to climb up a tree, and it was just this trending hashtag for the day. So people on the Social Command Center will jump on those opportunities for things that are trending in live in Twitter, or maybe it's about a celebrity or whatever, and they try to respond proactively in these things, or in a very quick turnaround to be able to capitalize on that particular event. So it's kind of crazy some of the things that they come up with. or and it's everything from using, they create images to add to their social. They create GIFs or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it, to put in there. And then obviously the more complex responses would include some sort of personalized character building or video-based consumption. But they use all of these tactics live in social every single day where they're interacting with folks. And it's just a way to have a feel-good brand to grow fans in whatever space that is, whether it's a Skype team or it's the OneNote team or the Xbox team. But literally these people have full-time jobs literally sitting on a social platform where they're interacting with people across the globe.
How many of you here, seriously, how many of you would like to do that? Sit in a room all day? I know Paula would. That's pretty cool.
And I'd say, having opportunities like this also allows, just working at a technology company in general, there is a very diverse workforce that we have here. And our culture is very inclusive of many different work styles, types of people, workflows. So in a lot of traditional business environments, you'll go in and everybody looks very rigid, suited up, and buttoned up and tie and suit type of experience. And that's just not what you get when you work inside a tech company. Even though we're a really large company, it's very diverse in the type of employees we have here. So we'll have everything from, sure, the people who do wear the suit and tie buttoned up look, and then you have folks who, have different alternative lifestyles. And, when you go into the social command center, like I said, I felt like for sure I was the oldest person by far on that command center, but it's almost kind of, I would say, almost like welcome into a college campus inside that social command center a little bit.
Anybody have questions? All raise your hand. Go ahead, Gabrielle.
What made you want to transition from being an educator to going more towards the tech side of things?
Did you hear her?
I think I heard her say, why did I transition from being an educator to working at Microsoft, essentially?
Yes.
So when I was in school to become a teacher, I actually double majored, and my other major was computer science. I've always had a love of technology, but specifically I also loved kids and in teaching. And so as a teacher, I always, even though I started teaching a long time ago, we had limited technology in the classroom, always looked for ways to empower my learners with that technology. And I only could do what I could do in my classroom and affect change with the learners that I worked with in my classroom until I moved into a leadership role in my district. And then I did work at the district level for several years in trying to help other teachers in the district also see the power of what technology could do and to enable and advance learning in the classroom. And so I did that for some time. And then I just moved into a space where I just wanted to affect more change than what I could do locally inside my own community. And so ultimately I have a very, love of professional learning. I love to learn myself. Like the one thing that I get up every day for is to hope to have the opportunity to learn something new. And that's probably also why I'm driven a lot to social media, because there's such a plethora of information out there that I can tap into on a daily basis and find something that's unique that I want to learn about. But being that I have this love of learning, I also am very committed and passionate to educators out there learning and changing the landscape of education. I truly do believe that we can transform education, but it has to happen at a wider scale than just in your own classroom or just inside one specific school in one small district. So working at Microsoft allows me to be able to work with teachers like Kyle and other teachers across not only just the US, but the world, and really lifting up what innovation looks like in the classroom and celebrating what good teaching looks like so that other teachers have the opportunity to see what that looks like and are able to use resources that are developed for them outside of the scope of maybe the small world that they see each day coming in and out of the same school. So that's probably a little long answer, but that's kind of long.
Go ahead.
What are some of your favorite pieces of technology to integrate into the classroom?
Favorite pieces of technology? Well, I would say number one, any kind of video tool such as like we're using obviously Hangouts or Skype. And I think the power of these tools is simple, right? You just click on something and you get into, and you can have these kind of connections. Exposing kids to different cultures, different learning styles, different people, and having them be able to collaborate is, to me, the most important thing, because we live in a global economy now. So for a child to be sitting in the village in Africa, having the opportunity to maybe connect to a school in New York City, that's an experience that we in the past couldn't provide children. And so having this type of technology, I think, is super important, and it's also really simple and easy to get started with. I also think that probably my other favorite pieces of technology, I always really loved OneNote in the classroom, and that is mainly just because of the sheer power of a tool like that for true collaboration and the ability to work anytime anytime, anywhere. I know both as students who have different learning schedules, and also what brain science and cognitive development suggest, not everybody works well at the same time in the day. And so giving students a platform in which they can work offline, online, at 7 a.m. in the morning or midnight, or whether I'm working in Australia or I'm working in the United States, it doesn't really matter. My work is syncing up to a central location in which I can communicate with other students or or other teachers, right? So as a teacher, I personally loved using OneNote in the classroom because it provided me a place to give instant feedback to my students. We know that learners today, or I like to call kids today microwave kids, we just kind of expect everything instantly, right? I mean, I want some information, I pick my phone up and I, get the information I need. And so our kids expect that same kind of environment in the classroom. So providing a technology solution in which when the instant a student does something, you have access into their work, you can provide feedback and they instantly get the feedback from you. There's no longer this delay of, oh, I'm gonna wait until I get back to class tomorrow and my teacher may have graded my paper and I might get back a week later. And then I know how I did. I mean, I think when you wait a week to get feedback on an assignment, like you're already disconnected and moved on to the next thing by then as a learner. So having that instant communication from a teacher to a student view is also super important.
Go ahead, man.
So it seems that you like teaching online through education, but do you ever miss the classroom experience, seeing the kids every day?
Sure, absolutely. And I would say that I answered that same question very similarly when I even just worked as a school leader in my school district. I mean, it's different when you step out of the classroom, and I definitely miss the relationship and the bonds that you have with your students on a daily basis. I mean, I look, now on Facebook and see kids that I taught that are getting married and having their own children, and I obviously won't have those same experiences 10 years down from the road. Because I don't have students that I get to interact with on a daily basis, but I do still make it my mission to be inside schools. So even though I'm not there every single day, I do schedule visits into local schools here to either work with teachers or just kind of go check out what kids are doing. And again, like I stated earlier, using social media to understand your customer, whoever that is, and in education, the customer is the student and the teacher. I can do that in social, but I also like to feel grounded and to see things in action. So there's always this, idea of people creating lots of really cool things, they can tell a story of how they think it will work in the classroom, but unless you see it in action, it's a different story. So by making, regular visits to some of our local schools and still getting to interact with some students, it's a different relationship, but it's, sort of gets my little, it fulfills my little emptiness that I have from not being able to be with kids every day. It's kind of like being a grandparent, you just can kind of see them when you want to, and then you can give them back later.
I just have one last question, because we do have, show of hands, how many of you are education users? I think there's 3, 4. Okay, so we have 4 in here. Some of them are getting ready to go out there. Especially on social media, what kind of tips or suggestions do you have, and kind of compare that to maybe if you're hiring somebody, what kind of things that you're looking for or not looking for in a social media profile?
Sure. Yeah. So just some tips with your own social media profile, and this would be regardless if you're in education or not. Just as someone who is going to be entering the workforce and what employees are looking for. So I definitely think there's a careful balance between being professional on social media. You can also be yourself. So it's quite okay to tweet out or post pictures of your friends as long as you're being appropriate. Because ideally everything you're putting on the web is there forever. So just kind of think about that. But I think if you build out your network, your peer community. So if you're interested in, let's say you're interested in marketing, then go out there on Twitter and do searches for hashtags like hashtag CMO, right? Or hashtag revenue marketing. If you're interested in education, then go do a search for hashtag edtech or learning design or learning spaces, but find something that you're passionate about, begin following conversations, and then you're going to see that there are definitely people in every industry that are influencers. And so start following those people, get connected to them. Don't be scared to take a risk and ask questions out on social media. Especially going into the professional world, LinkedIn is a great place for you to really build a profile. And actually, being here at Microsoft, we get access to some certain special services just from, as a kind of an employee benefit. Essentially one of the courses that I recently kind of took at the company was specifically around LinkedIn. And I think a lot of people view LinkedIn as like, hey, I'm just going to go basically put my resume on LinkedIn and people are going to reach out to me. And that's what I always have done, because that's the way it's set up. It's, what jobs have you done? When would you work there? Who did you connect with? I mean, those are the types of things you see on LinkedIn. But the feedback that I've recently received in a course specifically meant for how to kind of grow your LinkedIn profile and connect with others in your profession is that your LinkedIn profile should not look like a resume. I mean, sure, you might want to list job experiences there, but you should, whenever you go to someone's LinkedIn profile, for example, you should see essentially kind of like a summarization of what that person is about, what their strong suits are, and what you're about, everything from personal to professional in a nutshell, rather than just saying, I'm this and this is where I work and this is what I do and here's where I've worked in the past. You should build yourself a personality in LinkedIn, and that tends to attract more employers. And for many of you, where you are as you're looking to go out and find your first career, I mean, I think from a business perspective, that's where a lot of businesses start, is looking in LinkedIn first in some unique spaces that then they'll start to dig into, are they socially involved? And it depends on the role you're going after as well. So I know that when we've recently hired 4 people on my team, one of the first things I did was went and looked up these people on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. And quite frankly, if we had interviewees who did not have a social profile, or there was nothing on their social profile that was any direct correlation to what we were looking for professionally, we didn't even interview. So you want your personal social profiles to also be relevant to whatever it is that you're interested in and you're going after. And that's something that people didn't look at in the past.
All right. Thank you so much, Robyn.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's nice meeting you all, and hope you have a wonderful, evening over there. It's only midday here in the West Coast.
And I'll see you in 2 months.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. Bye.
Bye.